Fulgrim has returned to the 41st millennium, and we got a whole view of their models and the box set of Emperor's Children at LVO I should say this weekend, but it was yesterday evening. It was Thursday night, Friday morning for England. And with that news, they mentioned that Slaanesh Daemons will be in the Emperor's Children Codex, which opens up a whole can of worms as to what's happening with demons. Ever since I got back into the hobby and saw the new Great Unclean One, I fell in love with the idea of my little warp entity buddies and the 4 different flavors that you could build and play with, and how you could play them all together too. And then new Be'lakor came along, and I was in all the way. This model is so fucking sick. I love Be'lakor, and his rules in was it end of 8th, but 9th edition at least, were really fucking good. I'm a bit shocked at how bad he is now. I'm not a big fan of him currently, but I was looking forward to his glow up eventually. But alas, there are rumours in the winds, upon the winds of the warp, that Chaos Daemons might be going the way of the dinosaur. People talk about them getting squatted. The argument for this is that Games Workshop seem to hate the idea of you playing with multiple game systems with your models. Things that were available in Horus Heresy and in 40k have been pushed to Legends. Things like Contempt of Dreadnoughts, for example. Necromunda kits don't tend to get the dual treatment. We really only see like the associated skirmish games. That's going to be Kill Team for 40k, and is it Warcry? I forget. There's so many weird little skirmish games attached to AOS. I think it's Warcry. Those things get attached, but even then, some of the Warcry warbands are being like pushed to Legends in AOS as well. So Demons are this weird one that you can play across both AOS and 40k. So one of the prevailing sort of rumors or theories, one that I still hold, is that they're going to move to monogod as opposed to the Chaos Undivided sort of situation. Now, for those of you still catching up, or you don't play Demons, or you're new to 40k, Chaos Undivided Demons is this idea that you can take a mixture of all the 4 gods. Great and Clean Ones, Be'lakors, Keeper of Secrets, Demonettes, Bloodletters, all the different stuff. I've mentioned singles each thing there. Screamers and Lord of Change. You can take them all in this mishmash of 4 gods, all like working together to play the great game against the mortals of the 41st millennium. And the thing is, when you collect an undivided army, it doesn't mean you have an army in both 40k and AOS, because in Age of Sigmar, they moved away from allowing you to play this mishmash of demons. There was this way to play like a mishmash with Be'lakor as the general last edition. That got removed moving into this edition of Age of Sigmar. So there's this feeling that's going to happen with 40k too. And that brings us to the LVO announcement, right? The Emperor's Children are going to have the demons in their book. Now, I wouldn't be too quick to assume it's all gone awry. There are a few details around how 40k is right now that might suggest that we're just going to get both. We're going to get the gods rolled into each of their respective books. So Slaanesh going to the Emperor's Children, Khorne going to the World Eaters, Tzeentch going to the Thousand Sons, and Nurgle going to the Death Guard. That was like the theory, because that's how AOS works. You don't play a mixture of gods, you play one god, and you play both the mortal and the demonic followers and entities associated with that god. So in the case of the Maggot Kin of Nurgle, for example, you play fat, chunky, smelly boys, plus some demons, and that's your army. However, in 40k at the moment, there is this slight trend of putting sheets that exist across different armies. So for example, the different versions of Chaos and their cultists or their predators or their fiends, for example, their forge fiends, or in the Imperium, you've got Sisters of Battle showing up in the Imperial Agents Codex, but also their own codex. Same with Grey Knights. And then these entities have different points costs sometimes and different rules. Normally their guns and stuff are similar, but in the case of cultists, for example, they do different things in every single one of the monogod books. So for example, in Thousand Sons, I think they're sticky. No, in normal CSM they're sticky. In Thousand Sons, they scout and maybe we can make you a CP. I forget. There's too many sheets to remember. But the point is, we could end up with all the Slaanesh Daemons in the Emperor's Children Codex as a thing that can be played alongside Emperor's Children, but still get them in a index or book later. And the reason I say index or book is because if they do this, there's a chance that demons become like a slightly supported faction in the same way that Ynnari are or Imperial Agents. But Imperial Agents got a book this edition, so I'm not completely convinced we aren't getting something for the undivided collection of Be'lakor's friends. And that also suggests, if we go mono god into each of the books, where the fuck does Be'lakor go? Does he become a CSM sheet? That would kind of line up with his Slaves to Darkness sort of like role in AOS, but I'm not convinced that's going to happen. And there's also some positives to this. Like, the downside is that people who play Undivided Demons are going to be left with an army that they can't play, or if they want to play it, they have to play it with 4 or 5 books, if we include CSM that you have to buy, and so on. But there are upsides to it too. For example, if they just get divided into their monogod books, there could still be a chance that there are just demon detachments in those that allow you to play your demons. If you own a load of Slaanesh Daemons, you don't have to play stupid power armed dorks as well. But on top of that, it makes those power armored dorks more interesting. Like, in theory and in the fluff, Death Guard and Thousand Sons and World Eaters and Emperor's Children are all really cool and interesting, especially when you look at them in the Heresy era, moving into the 41st millennium, and how people, love and collect these guys. But each of them, during their refreshes, when they got moved from being just a flavour of Chaos Space Marine into being their own thing, lost a hell of a lot of access to different sheets, models, and flavour. World Eaters currently don't have a unique... Well, they have a unique Terminator sheet, but it's not the Red Butchers that they're famous for having. They don't have access to jump pack troops. They don't have access to bikes. All this stuff that loads of World Eater players actually owned back in the day, and effectively had their units squatted out from underneath them. I bought into World Eaters because I've got a bit of a soft spot for red armies that go crumping. And I bought Angron, some Berserkers, Jackals, and I plan to flesh out with 8-bound somewhere down the line. I never did because, one, I think the 8-bound models kinda suck, and two, the faction feels so unbelievably anemic and thin in terms of model variety, strategy you can take, tech you can tech into with your list building. There's only like 4 or 5 kits in amongst the World Eaters, and then some variations and some CSM stuff, but some stuff missing. However, if we get a corn book with World Eaters plus Scarbrand and Bloodthirsters and Bloodletters and the cavalry that I own, oh baby, I get all these options opened up for me as someone who owns a load of corn demons. I want to take Angron, Scarbrand, and a Bloodthirster, and it'd be like 1,000 points in my army. I'm just throwing huge, fat, chunky boys at my opponent. Not only does it give someone like myself access to this stuff, but it just gives people who feel like their factions are a little bit anemic, a little bit boring in some ways, a lot more room to experiment. Of course, at a competitive level and at an event level, there will be just the best thing that you play once people sort of solve or figure out the faction. But in some ways, giving them access to another 20 sheets in some cases, that's going to give them access to so many different tools that allow you to play the faction in different ways. In the same way that you will often see different versions of Space Marines being played at events successfully or well, or any of the other deeper codexes. I guess Tyranids and Orcs to a lesser extent as well, because they have such thick books. Imperial Guard's another one, right? Giving the Chaos Space Marine poster boy factions, the ones that get their own books, give them access to the demons, is nothing but upside for those players or people who already have the demons and want to spec a little bit into those Marine factions. I think that's kind of exciting. So I'm going into this with a little bit of fear for what's going to happen to my beloved warp denizens, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting too, because it's going to open up a world of possibilities, both at a casual level and a competitive level. And that sounds pretty good to me. Let me know what you think about the coming demon changes, the whispers in the warp, the rumors, and the tidbits we're getting from Games Workshop. And in the meantime, if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe by the subscription button below, because that's how YouTube works to tell you when my videos come out. Well, kind of 8% of the time. Most times I'm going to put it on the homepage or the browse feature, but that's not what this video is about. I'm going to shut up now. See you soon. Ta-ta for now.